What's up, guys? It's Techno Viking 23 coming to you today with a look at Mass Effect 3 multiplayer. And what I'm going to be doing is a brief rundown of the builds and characters I used for my Bronze solo series, which if you guys have been watching and paying attention, I actually did finally manage to defeat the collectors on a final Bronze solo. I kind of wanted to make that sort of the rite of passage to moving up to the Silver solo series, which will be starting soon, hopefully. But a few comments I got on those videos, people were asking, what kind of builds I was using for those runs. And I wanted to try to keep those videos a little bit shorter. I didn't want to be doing a lot of commentary on them, so I didn't go into each build for each playthrough. But what I will do here is I will actually show you the characters I was using and actually go in to show you the kind of builds I was running for my solo runs. Now, again, this is on Bronze, and kind of a disclaimer, I'm not an expert Mass Effect 3 multiplayer player, so these are what work for me. They may be different for you. You may find them helpful. If you have any tips, feel free to leave them down below when I'm going through these, as I always welcome any insight, and I watch a lot of other Mass Effect channels too to get their tips and tricks and see what kind of builds they're using, see how they're different from mine. And it's always good to compare and come up with new strategies for this multiplayer because it is very flexible. When you're playing, it's good to be flexible and be able to deal with a lot of different threats and have different builds for different situations. So let's get started. The first solo Bronze run I did was with the Asari Vanguard. Now, she was kind of one of those characters, you don't get her exactly when you start off the game, and I tried to keep the series with characters that you get right when you start the game. She was one of the different ones I used in the Turian Sentinel also, but you usually unlock her fairly quickly through veteran packs, and even in some recruit packs you might get her. She's an uncommon character, but she is very powerful. She's one of the better characters actually in the game, even for getting her in an uncommon. And I'll just kind of show you what we were running with her. I was running Biotic Charge, Lift Grenade, and then the M27 Scimitar X shotgun. That's an uncommon shotgun. You get that fairly early on. One of my favorite shotguns in the game. It's pretty solid overall. Now this build is going to look a little bit different because I did actually promote one of my Vanguard class to the main game, and I came back in, and I'm actually trying a different build out with her using Stasis, because I haven't used Stasis very much, so I'm trying it out with this build when I level her up to level 20 this time. But when I was running her on the solo, I was running her with a fully 6-slotted Biotic Charge. These first 3 are kind of stuck into what position you can go into. For rank 4, I go with increased damage and force versus hitting 2 additional targets. For rank 5, I go with more weapon damage, especially since I'm using a shotgun. Basically, when I Biotic Charge in, if there's people still around me, finish them off with the shotgun with that nice damage boost. Or you get an increased power damage if you want to use Biotic Charge or Stasis. But really, she doesn't have power damage. I guess the Lift Grenades would maybe fall under that, but I'd go for the shotgun damage afterwards, or just the weapon damage in general, because it seems to work out better for me. And then in rank 6, I go for increasing barriers by an additional 50% after a successful Biotic Charge. She's a very fragile character, so the more barriers you can get, the better. Moving on to Stasis, I actually did not use Stasis in that run. I don't normally use this power. I find this to be more of a helpful power in a group situation when you're not doing a whole ton of damage to enemies. But I definitely did not have this 6-slotted. I didn't even have any points in this for the solo run. I did have Lift Grenades 6-slotted. These things are ridiculously powerful, so you definitely want to 6-slot these. First 3, again, you're kind of stuck on. I go for increased damage versus radius. You can also increase your capacity by 2 or go for power duration. I go for more capacity so I can spam them. And you can slam the floating targets to the ground as lift wears off, or you can increase the damage and impact radius again, which that's what I usually go with. So I 6-slot these fully, going full damage in these things. You can get a ton of kill streaks just using these Lift Grenades. If you can throw a couple of these right into the enemy spawn, you'll blow everything up and get kill streaks galore, almost as if you were using a missile launcher. Then I also 6-slot both Fitness and Justicar on her for those solo runs. And for my last 3 slots here, I actually go with increased weapon damage by 7.5%, and then I do increased power damage and force bonus here. And then in the last one, increased weapon damage bonus by 10%, because I don't actually use heavy pistols with her, so I actually go and buff up that weapon damage as much as I can. I don't use Biotic Charges often with her, which is why I didn't go for power damage in that 1 slot versus weapon damage, because I play her more as a passive Vanguard. I like to use my Lift Grenades from a distance, use weapons as well. And then Fitness I went through. Of course, the first 3 you're stuck on, and then the last 3 I go with increased health and shield bonus, and then decreased shield recharge, and also increased health and shield bonus. So that's how I ran her on those solo for those solo matches. Now, I believe on the second one I did the human female engineer. Now, this is also another character I promoted into the main game, so she's at only level 10. She's not going to have the full array of powers like I have when I ran her on the solo, but I can still kind of give you a good idea of what she's got there. And I was using the M7 Lancer with her. That is not a gun you will get right away. That's actually a rare weapon. It's like a buffed up version of the M8 Avenger. It's a very powerful weapon. Now, for her powers, the way I was running her before was I had 6-slot Combat Drone, Incinerate, and Overload, and then I only ran Alliance Training and Fitness to 4 slots. So I'll kind of tell you guys with Combat Drone, of course, you're only first 2 here, you're kind of stuck with those. I always give the drone, actually I do the explosion ones, that way when it blows up around a bunch of enemies, it will kill some of them. I don't normally notice the drone doing a whole lot of damage to enemies to begin with, so a lot of the times they wind up destroying it, so this is kind of helpful. For me, it gives me a little bit more damage that I'm not actually doing myself, so that's kind of nice. For the second one here, I always go with shields and damage, so the drone will last a little bit longer and hopefully keep the enemies distracted so I can slip away if I'm doing a solo or actually do more damage to them. And then the last one, I actually do Chain Lightning for its electrical pulse to jump and hit 3 additional targets. I haven't actually tried it with the long-range rockets. Again, when I've seen people have this power in the game, it doesn't very often, so that's why I went with Chain Lightning. So that's how I slot Combat Drone. Incinerate, I always go 6 slot. This is one of the best powers in the game, especially for armored targets. First 3, of course, you're stuck there. Rank 4, I go for increased damage versus impact radius. Rank 5, I go for burning damage. Increased damage initial at 50% over 8 seconds. That's a great damage over time on armored targets. Or you can go with recharge speed, which I usually, like I said, just go with more damage. You can increase damage to frozen and shield targets by an additional 100%. But I usually use this. This is more of a team situation type power. So for the solo, I'm definitely going to burn as much armor as possible. So you increase damage to armored targets by 50% there with that last one. And then also, of course, she doesn't have a power to freeze enemies. If you were using like cryo ammo with her, then you could do that other power and incinerate 6 slot. But just don't find it worth it running solo with her. All right, now for Overload, also 6 slot this, another very good power. Now when I do solos, I normally will target this for single target damage to strip shields really quick. You can also use the Chain Overload in either 4 or 6 to get more area of effect. It'll bounce from target to target. I find that to be really good when I'm in a team situation. And quite honestly, I don't really care for one over the other. I like both of them, but usually I'll run, in rank 4, I'll usually pick increased damage by 30%. And then in rank 5, you can incapacitate weaker organic enemies, or you can go with increased recharge speed. I usually go with increased recharge speed. And then for rank 6, I like to go with increased damage to barriers and shields by an additional 100%, which works really well on bosses. But again, if you want to run just kind of a spam AoE build with this, you can also go with the Chain Overload in 4 and 6. That works pretty good too. But I like to go with the bottom 3 here on Overload. And in the Alliance Training, I'll usually take this and Fitness both out to 4 slots. And in this 4th slot here, I actually do go with power and damage and force bonuses because you are using Incinerate and Overload a lot. You want to be spamming those powers. Plus, it gives you a weight capacity bonus, which is going to lower that recharge time. And then in fitness, of course, we just go out to the slot number 4 and we do increase health and shields by 15%. It gives her right around, I think, 800 or 750 total health and shields. So she's not super durable, but she's not like really that fragile either. All right, so moving on to my other solo, we use the human male adept, and this guy is an absolute powerhouse. Let me show you guys how I build him out here. We can show you. I do not believe I was using the M96 Matic with him. I want to say I had a M4 Shuriken possibly, but that's another weapon I'm using in some other silver content here. So let's go in and take a look at his powers. Singularity, Warp, and Shockwave, all his biotics, you want to take those out to 6 slots, especially Singularity. This is a great power. So for rank 4, I increased the duration by 150%. That's to hold minion enemies. If I'm needing to retreat, I can throw out Singularity. That'll hold them in place for a while. The other choice is to increase the impact radius. Rank 5, I go with lift damage, so targets that are lifted take 60 damage per second versus recharge speed. And then in rank 6, I increase the damage by 50%. You can also detonate the Singularity field, which I don't find to be very useful for myself because usually when I get guys up in Singularity, I'm blowing them up so quickly with biotic explosions from my other 2 powers that I don't really even have a need for it really. So I always go with increased damage by 50%. Warp again, we're going to take all the way out to 6 slots. Or I go for increased damage by 30% over the combo. Actually, I should be using the combo detonation one here because he's so easy to use combos with, but I like to straight up pure damage sometimes. Then again, go for increased damage and duration. You have the choice to increase weapon damage and power damage. That's better for a team situation, in my opinion. And then you have Pierce, which increases damage to barriers and armor and weakens armored targets even more. Or you can recharge, increase your recharge speed there. So that's how I slot my warp on this guy. We can go with Shockwave here. You want to 6 slot this as well. We're going to go for increased force and damage in rank 4 over impact radius. And there you see I have the increased force and damage of biotic detonations by 65% over the distance that it travels. If I had that other power and warp slotted the same way for biotic detonations, this guy would do a ton of biotic damage in terms of his biotic explosions. But you got to have that in at least one of those powers to give yourself a little bit more of a boost. And then I have increased recharge speed in rank 6 versus suspending targets in the air for a short time, which I honestly have find really no need for. It just makes them harder to shoot when they're hanging up in the air and harder to target. So I just increase recharge speed, you throw a singularity out, and then you basically spam Shockwave and Warp, and you'll have biotic explosions all day long. This guy is not very durable in terms of health and barriers, but he can throw out a ton of damage. This guy's one of my favorite characters, one of the actual better characters in the game, which is surprising since you get him right away. All right, for Alliance training, we got 4 slots, and in slot 4, we take power damage and force bonus by 10% plus weight capacity bonus. Lets us have faster recharge speed, and those biotic powers do more damage. And then fitness, of course, we take it out to rank 4 and go for health and shield bonuses of 15%. All right, moving on. We also did use the Turian Sentinel, who's a very good class usually. I didn't really enjoy using him on the solo though, because for some reason, I don't know, he doesn't have any evasive maneuvers. He can't dash out of the way. He doesn't really have any evade power. So he's just basically a walking brick, and it's like you're going to take a lot of damage. And in a solo, that's not necessarily a good thing, but he's still very good given his actual power layout, what he has to offer. Now, tech armor, I go out 4 slots on this. So you're going to basically protect yourself with the holographic armor. It does slow down your power recharge, which is one of the main drawbacks of this power. And you can detonate it also. I don't actually hardly ever use the detonate on this thing. So I go with damage protection in rank 4 to give myself a little bit more durability. Warp again, we've been over this a couple times already. We're going to 6 slot warp. Like I said, I always go for damage and duration and armor. Nothing different there. Overload again, we're going to go 6 slots out. You can see him also. I've gone for increased damage, increased recharge speed, and increased barriers to shields. So really nothing there. Like I said, if you really want to go for that AoE spam, you can definitely do chain overload in 4 and 6. It's up to you guys. And then I go actually all full 6 slots in Turian Veteran because he gets some really good stability bonuses, which allows you to use some very high recoil weapons. And most of your very powerful weapons have higher recoil, so they're a little bit more difficult to use. So with him, it's like there's almost no recoil whatsoever. You can see there he gets an inherent stability bonus. Then you can go with more damage. You can actually increase your power. I actually go with force bonus here because he's using a lot of overload and a lot of warp. You want to be spamming those powers when you're using this guy. Plus you get that weight capacity bonus, a little bit more recharge time. Or you can go for more stability and damage if you want to run him as more of a weapons class. And again, we go with more power damage here in rank 5. And then in rank 6, I go increase weapon damage and increase weapon stability again. So any kind of gun you use with him is going to have hardly any recoil whatsoever. And then fitness, we go out to 4 slots here. So we can get him a little bit more durability. He's very durable. The Turians and the Krogan are very durable classes. So if you actually wanted to take away those, you could only 2 slot fitness and give yourself 7 points and put it up here in tech armor in rank 5 if you wanted to do one of these bonuses here. But it's up to you guys. I think I like to run him with 4 in fitness, but you can also run him with 2 there and do just fine. And with him, I usually do the Faiston with armor piercing on it. Very good weapon, very solid weapon that fires very straight. Now, one of those missions I did was actually a failed run against the Collectors, and I used the Human Male Infiltrator. I was actually surprised. I found him to be a very good class overall, and he actually did pretty good against those guys. You can see there I run the M92 Manus and the Predator X. Those are both weapons you get at the start of the game. The M92 Mantis is actually one of the best sniper rifles in the game, so you get that right away. You don't even have to buy a pack to get that. So I recommend if you're going to do some sniping, definitely get to learn how to use the Mantis. So we can take a look at how we run this guy. Now, I do skip sticky grenades completely. I'm not sure why, but I never seem to do well with these. I just don't really think they're that good of a grenade compared to lift grenades and other grenades that are in the game. So I usually skip those completely, and I max out all of his other powers. We start off with 6 slots in Tactical Cloak, which just basically makes you invisible, lets you kind of sneak around the map. It's perfect for doing certain objectives. This will not work on escorts because if you go invisible, the drone will not know you're there, so it won't keep going. But for like when you got to power down those objectives, this works very well for that. Or if you have to go invisible and run across the map through a bunch of enemies to get another one, very good power. It's great for reviving people that go down without being seen. You can kind of sneak in amongst the enemies and revive them before your Tactical Cloak wears off, so very good. So rank 4, I always go with increased power duration versus damage bonus. I increased the recharge speed too versus the melee damage bonus. The solos, you don't want to be up meleeing things very often. And this power does take a while to recharge, so that's why I like to have the duration last longer and also have the recharge speed a little bit higher. Bonus power lets you fire off 1 power while you are cloaked and stay hidden. I find that to be very good. Or you can take 1 shot with a sniper rifle while you're cloaked and it will do 25% extra damage. I just find this ability to fire off 1 power while still cloaked and not come out of your cloak to just be completely invaluable, especially with Cryo Blast that lets you freeze a lot of opponents before they even know you're standing there. And then you can either slip away if it's a sticky situation or, decloak and do more damage. All right, Cryo Blast, another great power. This is a great debuff power. It really works well on bosses and regular enemies. Freezes most normal enemies in place and will freeze them for quite a long time, letting you just kind of tee off on them. I go with duration versus impact radius. And then in slot 5, I actually go with increased damage to children frozen targets by 10%, or you can decrease their movement speed. I find this to be a really good power, again, in a situation, but for a solo, it's easier for me to freeze someone and then just sit there and spray them with bullets and get that extra damage. And then in rank 6, I go with increased damage to frozen and chilled targets by 15% and weaken armored targets by an additional 25%. That comes in handy against bosses with armor and, again, enemies you've already got frozen in place. Or you can increase the recharge speed and basically cut it in half if you want to. So that's how I do my Cryo Blast. And then we go all the way to slot 6 in Alliance Training. You'll see I actually go for a weapon damage bonus over power damage because Cryo Blast doesn't really do damage, so I like to have the higher weapon damage bonus here, and then I'll go with the power damage in rank 5. Honestly, headshot damage in this game you're not going to notice really a whole lot of headshot bonus damage there, so that's kind of almost a really non-existent perk, not a perk you need to really waste any points on. And then in rank 6, we go increase weapon damage bonus by 10%, or you can decrease the weight of all weapons by 20. But since I'm using the first level 1 weapons and the rank X weapons, they don't really give me a very big weight penalty on them. And then with him, I actually do take fitness all the way out to slot 6 for shield recharge and more durability to make him a little bit healthier. But yeah, again, guys, I don't use sticky grenades. Never have really found them to be that good. So that's, again, just my personal build, the way I play this. If you guys use them and you think they're pretty solid, let me know because, maybe I should try them. I don't know. I've just never found them to be that good. All right, moving on. Then we had the male soldier. We used him a little bit here in the what I call the spam concussive shot build. And he was using the M27 Scimitar X. Again, a very good shotgun you should get pretty early on from a veteran pack or a recruit pack if you're lucky. We'll take a look at the build I was using for him. We go with 4 slots in Adrenaline Rush. And the reason mainly for this is I usually forget I even have this power. This basically accelerates your reflexes, slows things down. It's like a bullet time thing almost. It gives you more weapon, a little bit more weapon damage bonus at times. You can increase recharge speed, increase the power duration by 30%. In slot 4, I went to decrease health and shield damage by 40%. This way, when you're aimed down sights using this power and you're getting shot by enemies, it's not going to hurt you as badly. You can also increase the damage it does by 20%. And in slot 5, if you guys wanted to go out this far, you can increase the duration by 40% or increase melee damage by 50% when the power is active. You can use 1 offensive power while Adrenaline Rush is active, or increase your shield strength by 100% when it's active, which is actually a really pretty solid power. I just don't use it that much, so that's why I have it only 4 slotted here, because compared to Concussive Shot and Frag Grenade, I just don't find it to be that useful. Concussive Shot basically just fires a blast It's a lock-on type blast that will go all the way across the map as soon as you can lock onto somebody, and will knock them down and do some damage to them as well. It can also trigger tech explosions. Here you just got your basic recharge and damage. In rank 4, I go for increased force and damage by 30% over impact radius. Rank 5, I go with increased recharge speed versus damage to frozen targets, because when you're doing a solo, unless you're using cryo ammo, again, you're not going to have frozen targets. So I always go with increased recharge speed. This thing recharges so quick. It's like like you see there, 1.4 seconds. You can just basically spam this over and over and over. Knocks things down. It's good to use against husks and abominations, and just really any enemy in general. Then you increase the damage by 50% in radius by 1 meter, or you can go with increasing damage to organics by 200%. The only problem with this is I believe that in terms of organics in the game, the only actual enemies that fall under that, I believe, are Cerberus. It could include the Reapers too, but I think most of the enemies, for some odd reason, are synthetic. I don't know. I could be completely wrong on that, but I don't always wind up using Hammer on this one here. Frag Grenade. These are really powerful. These are some good grenades. Definitely recommend using these. I take these all the way out to 6 slots. You can see your capacity and damage are the first two there. This one I increased damage. I always go for increased damage over everything if it's radius or whatever. It's just better to have that burst damage right when it hits. Increase your grenade capacity by 2, or again increase damage to organics by 50%. I like to have more grenades so I can spam them. And you can increase damage to armor by 75% or barriers or shields by 75%. I usually go with armor because a lot of enemies, especially your bosses, are going to have barriers and shields, but you'll wind up taking those down pretty quickly, and then the armor is the biggest problem of whittling it down. So having more damage against armor definitely comes in handy. For his alliance training, we went out to rank 6 on this one. We went for power damage and force bonus to mainly benefit concussive shot. Also give ourselves a little bit of a weight capacity bonus there. We again went with power damage and force bonus to help concussive shot in rank 5. In rank 6, we went with increased weapon damage bonus over decreasing the weight of all weapons. And then 4-slot fitness, that's pretty standard by now, guys. You should know that's just going to give you a little bit more health and shields. You can see his health and shields are a little bit on the low side, so not exactly the greatest, but this guy can dish out some good damage with his grenades and concussive shots, so makes up for his how fragile he is there. All right, and finally, for the last character we used this to beat the collectors. We actually defeated the collectors finally. I was using the human female Sentinel with the M8 Avenger and the M92 Mantis X. I don't know why it's empty there, but I was also running the armor piercing and damage mods on the M8 Avenger. The Sentinel class is very good, especially the human male and human female. These two are, again, the basic beginner characters you will get coming right out of the box. With her, I go tech armor all the way to 6 slots. Slot 4, I go for durability. Slot 5, I actually go for increasing power damage and force while the armor is active. And then in slot 6, I go with more increased damage protection on her. So my damage reduction from this armor is 50%. That means 50% of the incoming fire I take is actually reduced. So that's very helpful for keeping you alive, especially when you're running solos. It was invaluable against the collectors, let me tell you that. Warp again, here we go, same thing, increased damage, increased duration, and increased damage to armor. We've seen that several times now. And then you have throw as your other biotic power here. So for throw, I go with increased force over impact radius. Increased force and damage of biotic detonations. If you put warp on a target and then use throw, it causes a biotic explosion, so I go for more damage there. And then increase force by 50%, do an additional 240 damage on impact over increasing the recharge speed. This power already recharges very quickly, so you don't really have to worry about recharge speed. And then we 4-slot alliance training. In the 4th slot, we go for more power and force damage, plus an increased weight capacity, so we can carry an extra weapon if we want to. That's why you saw me switching back and forth between an assault rifle and a sniper rifle. Very handy to have a sniper rifle sometimes to do some nice burst damage. It's kind of hard to use on solo because you don't often have a lot of time to get set up in a good spot before you have to move. But it's nice for when you get the mobs whittled down and you can jump in there and use that. And again, 4-slot fitness here. You can see also she's not a very durable character, only 700 health and only 700 shields. So that's just a quick look there at the builds I was using for the solo there. I guess I don't really know if I even have any equipment to show you guys here. I was mainly using Shield Booster 3 on these. Sometimes I'll use Armored Compartments when I solo because I get one more missile, and one of my big problems right now is I only have 2 missiles unlocked out of a total of 6 without buffs and things. So I can only carry 2 missiles, which makes the last couple waves really difficult since you can't just instantly take out a lot of those bosses. You saw that in the last collector mission on that wave when I'm trying to run around collecting the objectives with the freaking 2 Praetorians and Scions chasing me around the map. That was really kind of hectic and chaotic, but we made it work. And but there's all kinds of different equipment packages you can use if you want to gear it more towards like your actual character build. These are really just mostly a personal choice, depending on what you have unlocked. Of course, that's going to be dependent there. You've got other ones that increase your meta-gel capacity and your shield regeneration. But I like Shield Booster 3. It gives me 20% more effective shield strength, which is great for those characters that don't have a lot of shields to begin with. Ammo bonus, I don't think I actually have yet. I don't have much right now. I use pretty much anything I've got. Incendiary rounds, warp rounds are good. Phasic rounds are good. Drill rounds are very good. I don't have a whole lot of equipment right now because I've burned through it doing most of these solos. I need to buy some jumbo packs, but just to give you guys a good idea here. Weapon bonus is basically whatever weapon you're using. I don't really use strength enhancers much in solos because obviously it's melee damage. You don't want to be doing a whole lot of melee attacks in solos. You want to be far away from the enemy. But usually try to use something for whatever weapon you have equipped. Armor bonus is kind of the same thing. They make these for all kinds of different things. You can increase your shield recharge, increase your shield capacity. Those are usually the ones I go with. The Cylonic Modulator makes it a little bit easier when you've got more shields. You can also stabilize your weapons, make yourself move a little bit faster, which comes in handy for some of the Krogan and the Geth Juggernaut. But again, guys, whatever equipment you find helpful is what I would use. And you can see there on the right, you see my max capacity there on Cobra missiles is only 2, and I've only got 3 op survival packs. So that really makes things difficult. And that's going to make soloing silver a little bit of an issue. But I'm going to try to get around that. Hopefully, I've got a couple of new characters I can use for silver. Now, when I go up to silver, guys, just to give you guys a bit of a heads up on this, when I do these solo, when I'm going to try to do the solo silver here, I'm not going to be using beginner level characters or characters that come out when you first get the game. I'm going to probably be using some characters you may not have yet that you get from some of the veteran packs and even some of the Spectre packs and the reserve packs you can buy later on. 100,000 credits, reserve packs give you the chance to unlock some of the better characters. So I'm going to be probably using some of those to make up for my lack of equipment. I'm going to be using some more powerful characters to try to get through those silver solos, and also some better weapons as well. And I'll go over all of that when I do those silver solos. I think what I'll do for the silver solo is basically I'll do kind of like I did before, where I run through the gameplay with a little bit of commentary at the beginning, and then what I'll the end is come back and make another video to tack on to the end, showing the build and the weapons and things and talking about that a little bit more in depth. So, but that's it, guys. We're almost about 30 minutes here, so I want to go ahead and get this. I'm trying to make videos a little bit shorter here, so you guys don't have to sit through like an hour of content. I know a lot of people don't even watch these Mass Effect videos, so I don't want to have to make you sit here all day, but I'm going to try to keep a lot of these solos, runs, and everything a little bit shorter. Of course, when we get to silver, that may be a little bit more difficult because it is going to take more time and patience to get around the map. There's going to be a lot more bosses, a lot more enemies we have to deal with, and I don't think I'm going to try collectors on silver. It's just they just were too much of a headache on bronze. It took me about seven attempts to finally get a solo against them on bronze. It took forever, about 3 hours of wasted time and lost equipment and God knows what else. So solo silver will probably be running a lot of Geth and some Reapers. I don't know if I'm going to take on Cerberus or not. They're also pretty tough on silver, but we'll see what happens, guys. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this quick look at the builds I was using for those solo bronze runs. If you guys have any questions about anything at all, please feel free to leave a comment below. And like I said, if you have any suggestions on other builds you guys like to run, feel free to talk about them in the comments. So, as always, guys, I hope you're having a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.